Welcome everybody. First things first, of course, welcome. And thank you so much for giving up your evening to chat to us. We'll be here for about an hour or so. So as Nico said, get yourselves comfortable. And yeah, we're looking forward to chatting to you all today about Boolean. So who are we? So I'm Patrick. I head up admissions and placement here at Boolean. So I'll bookend your journey here. I'll be there at the start and at the end. And Nico is the filling in the middle. Previously to Boolean, I worked for 3 years at a London tech bootcamp in their placement team. So worked putting the people who finished into roles as software developers. So worked with around 100 students, I think I placed into roles there. So lots of experience in this field, and joined Boolean in November last year. And Nico.
Great. So I'm Nicholas. I also used to work at a bootcamp for a couple of years. I was initially a lead instructor, and then I became a master instructor, which is it's just a fancy title for I used to actually teach the teachers, right? Make sure that everyone was doing a good job, make sure that the curriculum was good. I must have taught over 200 students in my 2 years in the previous bootcamp. So together we have quite a lot of experience teaching and placing people in jobs, which is quite exciting.
Nice. So the agenda for today, we're just going to quickly run through who we are, your journey from zero to hero, how the course is structured, the careers services, financing. We're going to have a quick look at how we compare to other boot camps and universities. And finally, we're going to dive into questions. 2 quick points to note. For questions, there is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to put questions in there. There's also the ability to upvote questions, so you can give a thumbs up. We'll get to all questions at the end. So if you just hang on to the end, we'll answer any questions then. But feel free to write them as and when they come up during the presentation. Cool. Who are we? It's a great question. Just going to give you 20, 30 seconds just to quickly scan your eyes over this slide before pulling out some key points. Cool. So a few things to pull out here. The first one being Boolean is an international online tech academy. International because we actually started life in Italy 3 years ago. It was in fact 3 years ago on Tuesday. So happy birthday to us. And having seen great success there, we decided to launch in the UK as well. Great success. You'll notice some of these numbers on the side. So we've enrolled 1,000 students in the time that we've been in Italy. We've worked with 300 companies. And our placement rate at the last count was 98%. So some really fantastic numbers, and obviously seeing the success of the bootcamp model in the UK and bringing our experience, we thought this would be a really great venture for Boolean UK. So the idea was to revolutionize tech education, and in 2018, in large part, this was to be delivered remotely, which was very revolutionary at the time, and actually set us up quite well for the move to remote that we've seen over the last 9 months or so with coronavirus. What we did was we took the best parts of learning in the classroom, interactivity, group work, sense of community, and fused that with the benefits and the accessibility of being online. And so the key point here is no longer do you have to live near a big city or a big university campus to get really good, high quality education. And no longer are you just stuck with the sort of cheap, pre-recorded lessons for online learning. You can actually access live quality lessons. We're split into the 3 major departments that you'll see are pretty self-explanatory. Admissions and student services does what it says on the tin. They're the people that you'll meet at the start and for anything sort of pastoral during the course. Instructors are there by your side for the learning journey, and the career services help you out in the job searching part. We of course have finance, ops and marketing who all help behind the scenes as well. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Nico to tell you about the journey from zero to developer.
Great. So as Patrick mentioned, the point of the whole experience is to go from absolutely nothing at all, so you don't know how to program, to becoming a developer and getting your first dev job. The way this works, let me see if I can go. Perfect. So we're just going to do a little quick a little quick deep dive into how the curriculum is actually structured. And then we're going to go back. Let me see if I can go back. There we are. So the way the bootcamp works, the way the program works is when you start your first month, you spend using HTML and CSS, so building websites with no real interaction. You could just click on things, you can see animations, but nothing really will happen. But you can build pretty cool websites, and you can end up cloning pretty popular and stylish websites as well. And your month 2, you're going to learn about JavaScript, so how to add interaction to the websites. In month 3, you're going to learn about React, and React is just a bit more JavaScript, so learning how to make JavaScript a little bit better and more modern. Then we're going to move to TypeScript, which is a different language that sits on top of JavaScript, just to make your JavaScript a little bit more scalable and modern as well. Then we're going to move to building APIs, which is how do you build servers that can communicate with your application. So up until now, you've been building front ends. And this is the moment where you switch to the backend and you can actually build the brain of the website to store information and to make more like multiplayer or multi-user experiences. Then we're going to move over to month 6, which is computer science fundamentals. So we're actually going to do a deeper dive into what actually makes computers tick a bit more, the complexity of code, and how you can actually nail your technical interviews when you're ready to get your jobs. And then after that, we have the last 5 weeks or so, actually. So it's a bit more than a month in the end of a final project. So you're going to be working together with your peers and actually working in an agile environment, which means you're going to be working exactly in the same way that companies will make you work, right? So a team of developers usually works in an agile environment, which means they have a problem, they break it down into lots of small problems. They give an estimate, okay, I think this will take a little bit, this will take a bit more. And then they distribute that and they can work in collaboration with each other. So that's how companies get to move really fast and build really cool products. And after the course ends, we have those little purple arrows in here, and Patrick's going to guide you through that. Actually, not when the course ends, but throughout the course. It starts early on.
Exactly that. The focus of the 6 months of learning is to learn the skills to become a software developer. However, as time progresses, we do also want you to start forward planning for the second part of your journey, which is the job search. And so we're going to have 3 lessons during the course. These will take the place of one of your morning lessons, which Nico will explain in a moment. And these will happen over from month 4 onwards. First one's going to be pretty simple, intro to tech careers. What kind of careers are there? What kind of career paths are there? What kind of companies can I work for, etc. Second one is going to be about building your network. Tech, probably more than any other industry, is really focused on network. And so understanding how to utilize this both in your job search and in your professional life is really important. And the third lesson will be around nailing the interview. And we'll actually loop in the instructors to help out with some practice tech interviews here as well. In addition, you'll also have a one-to-one meeting with the careers coach where you'll deep dive into your personal journey. And then once the course ends, as you can see there, we'll add your profile to the Boolean hiring platform and your job search officially commences.
Cool. So going on to the next one. So teaching hours, just to get a little bit more information about when we actually teach and how the course works. We go Monday to Friday. So throughout the duration of the 6 months, it's full time. You're going to be there the entire day. When I say there, I mean online. From 9:30 to 1, we're going to be doing lectures, right? So we're going to be in a Zoom call all together, doing a lots of live coding. When I say lectures, I don't mean typical like university monologue lectures. I mean lots of interaction, learning about lots of cool stuff, building some stuff together and really getting to know how everything works. Then in the afternoon, you're going to be working by yourselves, sometimes in groups from 15 to 18. And you're going to actually be doing all the practice that you need to do to actually remember and apply everything that you've just learned in the morning. So rinse and repeat. We're going to be doing that for about 6 months. And between, we're also going to have some weeks where will be project weeks. So maybe not so many lectures in the morning, just a few catch-ups, but lots and lots more practice than usual. Now, how is the course structured? We have in the morning when the lectures are going on, we have lots of slides with a pretty solid curriculum built, lots of teaching materials, so lots of code and lots of tools that we're going to be using. So some of the tools we'll use during the course, throughout the course, are Zoom, which we're using now, Slack, which we'll use for communication between your peers, VS Code, which is an editor that you can use to actually code things and it'll help you up a little bit. Right away, We're going to start with projects, exercises, applying everything you need to know. We're going to invite people over roughly once a month to give you talks, maybe related to user experience, project management, developers, growth hacking. So we always get people that are really experienced in their field to give you a taste of what it feels like to be them, right? And how did they get there? And then throughout the course, there's also lots of teaching evaluation, and it goes both ways. So we're going to be tracking your progress constantly, making sure that you're going down the right path. And if you ever stray, you know, we'll help you out. We'll support as much as you need support to make sure that you're back on track and moving forward. But we're also accepting feedback constantly, right? So we know what it means to be a learner, and we're learners ourselves, which means we're always open to feedback. If there's something that that you want to talk about, or if there's something that you would like to change, or something that you just want to talk about, we're always constantly open to feedback, and we action everything that we can to make sure that we give you the best experience possible. We talked about Zoom, and just to repeat this, the lectures are on Zoom, super interactive. So we expect you to to have your camera on. We ask questions, you can ask us questions back, and there'll be a conversation going on. So lectures are usually quite fun and entertaining. Slack, again, so you will be on Slack, you will have a channel for your cohort, you will have a general channel where everyone in the school can talk to each other as well. You can make jokes, and you can also talk to your instructors over Slack. And if you ever get stuck, we have a system where you can actually raise sort of a ticket where actually I need more official support, I'm stuck. And you can make things a bit more official, raise a ticket, and someone will help you out over Slack, or maybe schedule a Zoom call with you for a couple of minutes just to make sure that you're unblocked and you can keep moving forward. Now I'm handing over back to Patrick, and he's going to talk to you about career services.
Exactly that. Thanks, Nico, for the comprehensive overview of the course. So once the 6 months is finished, you'll start your job search. Just before we dive into that, what is the end of the course? So in order to officially receive your certificate of attendance, and in order to be able to access the career services, importantly, we do ask that you've committed and you've shown commitment to the course. So what does this mean in practice? Attending lectures, a minimum of 90%. Handing in the exercises that Nico spoke about, again, a minimum of 90%, and taking part in the development and presentation of the final project. Obviously, what we're saying here is we recognize that a couple of days off here and there if you're ill or whatever reason is understandable, but in order to get the most out of the course and in order to be able to follow the learning goals, you need to be there in the lessons and you need to be doing the work. But in 99% of cases, this will all be perfect, and we'll move into the career service. One important thing to note, though, is although it's hard doing the course, the hard work doesn't stop. And as many of you will know, finding a job is a job of its own. And this is why, for us, the career service is actually one of the most important aspects, because we want to be there by your side, helping you feel like someone's there fighting your corner, and you feel supported during this difficult journey. So here's a long list of what we can do. We'll actually share the slides afterwards, so feel free to digest this in your own time, but I'm just going to summarize it as kind of 4 key areas that we offer with the career services. First one is sort of goals, so helping you understand what kind of place you want to work in, what kind of role you want to be in, kind of what your like longer term ambition might be in tech. Second one is tools, learning how to make the most out of things like your CV, your GitHub profile, your LinkedIn profile, how to use LinkedIn in the job boards effectively. Third one is applications, so helping you craft a good application, also helping you with your interview prep, whether that's for tech interviews, tech tests, or behavior interviews. And the final one, and one that I think is a little bit undervalued sometimes, is accountability. So someone checking in with you at the end of the week and being like, how did your week go? Did you do the things you said you were going to do? How are you feeling? Is there anything we can do to help and block you? We also use a piece of software to help you track your job applications as well, just to make that nice and clear and nice and simple for everyone. The final thing that's linked to career services, but is kind of separate, is placement as well. So part of our role here is going to be pulling companies in to Boolean and getting them on our hiring platform, which is completely free of charge for companies to use. And that can access as almost like a private job board for Boolean students, where the companies will be able to freely interact and interview you by searching through that platform. So that's kind of like another part of the career service package, if you like. And of course, best bit of all is the money back guarantee. This is us kind of putting our cards on the table. And what it's saying is, we trust our selection process, we trust our teaching, and we trust our career services. So if you put in the hard work too, there's no reason you shouldn't get a job. And so if you don't, we're happy to refund you the money. Obviously, there's some eligibility criteria for this. There's all the eligibility that I mentioned before, the attending the lectures, handing in the work, but specifically in relation to jobs, you need to be applying for jobs, so a minimum of 5 a week. You need to have a right to work in the UK or Ireland and be looking for work in the UK or Ireland. And you need to be able to commute within reason as well. So we've suggested something like up to an hour. But otherwise, you're covered by the money back guarantee. So on to financing. So the course costs £6,500. This is a £400 discount off the price as an introductory offer for people who are starting our first cohort in March. You have options to pay that upfront if you like. So pay everything before the course starts and kind of have that weight off your mind is absolutely fine. You can also get a loan through our partner CourseBud, who are like a loan broker. They have around 30 providers. It works in a pretty standard way. You borrow the money, you pay for the course, and then you pay the money back in installments. If you follow CourseBud, you'll have to pay upfront. Or your third option is to pay in installments. So installments looks like a deposit of £2,500 before the course starts, and then split into 5 monthly payments of £800. This just helps you spread the cost, helps a bit with cash flow, especially if you're kind of maybe borrowing off family or friends, etc. This can help out with cash flow. Final thing we thought would be useful is to run through how we compare to the alternatives. So we kind of position ourselves between boot camps and universities. Universities are obviously like a long, everyone knows what universities are, a longer kind of semester-based learning. You have all the experience of being at uni as well for the first time. Boot camps are these sort of like hack it, make it work quickly, cut some corners, get enough to pass the interview. And we like to kind of call ourselves a tech academy and kind of sit somewhere in the middle, a little bit closer to university, but in a much more modern and flexible way. So as a quick comparison, length of time, we sit at 6 months in between sort of the 12-week average for boot camps and the 3-year average for university. Our price point is around 6,500, which is much less than boot camps, and obviously university 3 years at £9,000. That's excluding living costs, of course. Importantly, the price if you don't get a job, obviously we have the money back guarantee, so it's £0 if you don't get a job. Whereas you still have to pay at boot camps universities. And of course, with Boolean, you have the option to pay in installments, which you don't get at boot camps universities. Nico, do you maybe want to run through the final things?
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of the technical part of the bootcamp, the practical skills, we have a very modern curriculum. Practical skills means you actually, as opposed to university is very theory focused. Boot camps are usually more practical focused. And we sit somewhere in between, right? We want to teach you more the theory part as well than just, applying, but we also want to make sure that by the end of it, you can really apply everything that you've learned, right? So we're somewhere in between those two, which is kind of the best of both, right? Theory and tons of practice as well. Now, the curriculum is super modern. We're just building it right now, and it has all the latest tech, everything that is currently super in need in the market, whilst keeping in mind that we're not picking the tech just because it's popular. We're picking the tech because we think it's the right tech for you to learn the concepts and everything that you're going to need for your career as a developer. That's why we also teach you not just the tech itself, but we also go into the computer science fundamentals, right? Which is something, like I mentioned earlier, the universities usually do, but boot camps not so much. And compared to universities don't really help you land the job. You're there for 3+ years, and then you really don't have any more help. You've spent a ton of money, and you don't even know if you're getting a job or not. Whereas with us, you can know that you have a job guarantee. If you don't get a job, you end up not paying. So that's also pretty nifty. You might get a job later on. You got the skills for free. That's awesome. But we're very confident that you will get a job within 6 months of finishing the bootcamp. Another thing is we have online delivery. So right now, everyone is doing online courses, but that's because they have to, not because they chose to, not because that's how they were born, right? So Boolean, from 3 years ago, way before COVID, was born as an online company. So we have all the right tooling, we have all the right practices and everything that we need to strive at teaching you whilst being online. right? So bootcamps and universities, they're kind of having to teach online right now, but they're not as prepared as we are by far. I can guarantee that.
Absolutely. That takes us more or less to the end of our presentation. And now it's over to you to ask your questions. So as we explained, the floor is yours for any questions you have. There is a Q&A function. What we'll do is we'll give you a minute or two just to write up your questions in the chat, and then we'll start going through and answering the ones. Again, if you upvote the ones you want to hear the answer to the most, then we'll try and prioritize as well. Whilst you're thinking of questions, I'll just run you quickly through what to do if you want to apply to Boolean, and as we mentioned about enrolling before, what to do if you want to enroll. Head to the website, click the Apply Now button in the top right corner, fill in your name and your email. It'll take you to the first part of the admissions process, which is a short questionnaire, which takes about 5–10 minutes to complete. You'll be then asked to book an interview with me, the admissions manager. That's to be around a 45-minute interview to run over kind of your motivations and your reasons for applying and answer your questions about Boolean. And then there's a logic test that we ask everyone to complete as well. You can either complete this before or after your interview. It's up to you, but you'll have to do it before you enroll. If you're accepted onto the course, we will send you a student contract. And once you've signed, you've booked your place. And that's the process in a nutshell. So without further ado, let's head to the Q&A and see what questions we've got.
Great. So we have a couple. I can start with how many people are in the classroom? I can answer that one live. So in the classroom, we'll have roughly between 20 and 35 students. So 35 is the cap. And then we're obviously going to be staffing each classroom depending on how many students are starting on that day, right? So if we have 20, there's likely to be 2 instructors. If we have 35, there's likely to be up to 3. So we want to make sure that we have a solid ratio of instructors to students, so you always get the right amount of support that you need. Hope that answers the question. Let me answer another one here, which is, would I have any one-to-one lessons with an instructor or only group? So I can answer that one as well. The answer is the lectures, so the lessons are always group lessons in the morning, but then in the afternoon, you will have a ton of support from instructors, right? So it won't be a lesson itself. It'll be more like the lesson's already done. Can we personalize the support to exactly what you need right now, right? So you'll have tons of time to actually interact with us by Slack or Zoom. And those are lots of, one-to-one interactions that are super valuable. We want to make sure that you are on the right path, you don't get stuck. And even if you're doing really well, we want to give you challenges really to help you go even further. So there's definitely tons of customization. It's tailored just for you. It's not just group all the time. Patrick, you can go with the next one.
Yeah, if I scroll off here, can you still see my screen? Because I have to move.
Everything looks good for now, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Great then. If I can't join now, when would be the next one? So great question, Andrea. Thank you for that. The next date is the 17th of March. That's our first cohort. So obviously there's still a bit of time before that one. Or the following date after that will be the 19th of May. So if you're interested in applying, then that will be the next one.
Cool. Should you have any prior experience, Gareth asks? I can answer that one. The answer is no. So by the time you book and you apply, we will strongly recommend that you do a little bit of pre-work. So we'll give you, some good resources that you can go and read up before you start. But the whole point of this is you're not supposed to have any experience at all. So we will help you go from 0 to developer in the course of 6 months.
I love this question from Andrew. When did you guys personally learn to code, and what kind of jobs did you have when first starting? Nico, you'll have way more to say on this. From my side, Andrew, I actually came from a non-coding background. I've done a little bit of Ruby and JavaScript on some of the free websites to kind of learn a little bit around this industry and know what I'm talking about when speaking to employers and students, of course. But I don't come from a tech background. I come from a more sort of admissions, placement, sales kind of background.
So Patrick's job is not to teach you. I will be the instructor for the first cohort, and then we're going to be hiring more experienced developers. But Patrick's job is to give you a job, and he's really good at that one, right? So we specialize in whatever we do. From my end, I've been coding for over 6 years now. I actually started because I wanted to be able to automate things, right? So I was actually working as a manager in a customer service place that was actually building software, but I was managing sort of the interaction with clients. And I realized that we had like 10 hours wasted a day with like data entry and stuff. So I actually started teaching myself Python at first, and I started automating everything that I could. And I ended up reducing those 10 hours a week to 2 seconds a week. Just press a button, everything would happen. So much time saved. So I actually ended up learning more and more because I had more free time because there was less things to manage because I was automating everything. And then I got offered a job at the same place. So I transitioned from being a manager in customer service there to actually being a developer for that company, which was quite interesting. And then I worked there for a little bit longer. And then I was approached by the previous bootcamp that I worked for. That was telling me, you have experience in teaching, because I was originally actually a teacher. So I come from an English teaching background. I have a Cambridge certificate. And then I ended up mixing, teaching and coding, which were both my passions, and teaching people how to code and change careers, which is really, really rewarding. And I love doing to this day. So let's see.
Great question, Andrew. Thanks for that.
Enter live. That was answered.
Yeah. Next up, is the course recognized with certification from ASHU? We have a certificate of achievement, which lists all of the things that you've covered on the course that Nico explained on one of the first slides, and lists the kind of hours that you've done and your participation. However, we don't specifically work with any of the government regulation bodies like Ofsted or anything like that. The number one reason just being because they're ancient. The way that they regulate, the way that they certify is super old school and outdated. And it just means that you have to adapt your curriculum in the wrong way. You have to adapt your curriculum to fit with outdated reasoning that comes from Ofsted, rather than the market, which ultimately the goal here is to get you a job. And so the way that we're going to do that is by training you in the skills that the job market wants. And so that's why we chose to go down the path of being an independent education establishment, and having more control over our curriculum.
Yeah, and just to add to that, companies today, even Apple and Google, they don't even ask you for a degree anymore, because they recognize that it's not the certification that matters so much, it's the experience, right? And that will give you in spades. So by the time, once you get your first job, then you get your second. So we'll definitely help you land your first one. Once you have one job in development, you're in, right? You've come through the door, and it just gets easier to keep, jumping and improving from there.
Nice. Average entry-level job salary, Andrea, it depends where you are really in the UK. The average for the UK probably in general is high 20s. I'd say 27 to 30 is pretty standard. If you're in London specifically, it's much higher. It's around 30 to 35. And obviously, if you're kind of in smaller satellite towns, maybe somewhere like Reading or somewhere like that, that's kind of not near a big tech hub like Leeds or Manchester or Oxford or Cambridge or Bristol or Brighton or Edinburgh, Glasgow, or any of those, you're probably looking at lower 20s, maybe 24 to 26.
Yeah, one thing worth pointing out is that's obviously super entry level. That's the first salary you'll get. The field of programming is very popular for the salaries escalate super quick. So once you've been there for a year, 2 years, you're going to start getting a massive increase if you start looking for new roles with more experience requirements. So the entry is what Patrick said, but then bear in mind that it goes up quite fast once you're in the game and getting better every single day.
Absolutely.
So we have one from Ravinder, says that the website says that the course is free. If you find a place where it says it's free, that's a mistake. I don't think we do say that though. What we might say is that it's free because you get your money back if you don't get a job. So I'm not sure that we actually say it's free anywhere. It can be free if you end up not getting a job, but we're pretty confident you will get a job. So it's not free in that case.
Potentially, Ravinder, you're getting mixed up with a free lesson that we offer. So there is a free lesson, a free taster lesson, which is just to give you a feeling for what it's like to learn at Boolean, specifically what it's like to learn with Nico teaching you. And that is freely available on our website. But exactly like Nico says, the course costs £6,500, as we explained.
Yeah. So if for any reason you're unable to complete the course or need to quit, do you get any reimbursement on the cost? And the answer is, you pretty much will get a pro rata reimbursement based on, how much you've completed and how far you've come.
Ideally, though, Ashu, the purpose of the admissions process is for both us and you to work out if this is the right path for you. So the ideal is to understand before you start whether or not this is the path you want to take. And so we won't have people who need to do that. But exactly like Nico said, we're not going to hold you to ransom, and it will be a pro rata basis.
So do you teach Unity software? You have interest in game development? So the short answer is no, we don't teach Unity. Unity uses C#, which is a programming language that's quite popular. We do teach TypeScript, which is super, super close to C#. So by the time you're done with this, you will have definitely enough concepts to jump into Unity and be super productive and be a super fast learner of Unity if you're interested in game development. So we don't do specifically game development, but whatever we teach, the concepts are an overlap of what you need to be a game developer. So it's definitely worth learning as well.
What about remote working positions, Andrea? Are they common in the industry? Yes, is the short answer. They have been even pre-COVID, and especially post-COVID. They're becoming even more popular and more common. What I'd say is expect a hybrid role for most companies. I think most companies are moving towards a sort of 3 days in the office, 2 days, or 2 days at home, or maybe even more like 4 days at home, 1 day in the office. And that looks set to be the future really of work. Some companies will move fully remote, and of course some companies will move fully back in the office, but I'll be very surprised that if there are many that do the latter there. So absolutely, and software development more than any other really does lend itself to work from home.
For sure, just to add on top of that, I always say that even before COVID, the remote trend was going higher and higher. And since COVID happened, obviously now everyone's remote, but it's just skyrocketed the amount of people that are not willing to go back to the office later on, right? So the amount of people that just want to stay remote, the amount of companies that are closing, if you look at what's happening in San Francisco and like Silicon Valley, like a lot of people are moving out of it because they just decided to be remote from now on. So the trend is certainly going, higher and higher exponentially. It's like how many people want to work remotely or employ remotely as well.
Nice. Gareth, you mentioned the next course date after this one. How often do they run? I'm just thinking about current work commitments. Great question. So yeah, so we're going to run, as we said, the one in March 17th, one in May the 19th, and we're planning to run one in July as well. From there, it depends partly on sort of like the demand from student side and our ability to get teachers on board. But the plan is to run probably more like 4 to 6 in the second half of the year. So effectively 1 a month or potentially 2 a month as well for months where we're oversubscribed. So looking to become more and more regular as the year goes on, and in this first period, leaving a little bit longer between them, just so that we can continue to iterate and improve as we build out the course.
And so, did we just answer this one then by Gareth?
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, awesome. So obviously everything depends on, the availability we have on like students and teachers, but we will be running pretty much monthly if, the availability is there from everything. So you won't miss your chance if you don't start right now. Although just to say something more of like an insider knowledge, if you want to know it, the first cohort that's going to be starting in March, regardless of how many people join, it's going to be staffed by 3 instructors, which means potentially, you can be cuddled and you can have way more, interaction and attention to detail, and like there will be a much higher instructor to student ratio regardless. So it's actually not a bad idea to join the first cohort, because you're obviously going to get a very tailored experience, as opposed to, once you start growing and growing, the ratio is going to be more like a bit more normal, you won't have people catering you to like as much, because obviously like we're going to be running a fast train at that point. But right now, being like an early bird has the advantage that, we'll spend a ton of time together, and you're going to help make us like better, and we're going to help you a ton as well. So it's super, super interesting.
Yeah, And just to add on that, there is a limit, of course. We try to keep it to a maximum of sort of one teacher to sort of like 10-ish students, and we won't go over that maximum. But as Nico said, you can definitely go below that if you're on the earlier cohorts, which is great. How to do a taster course to see if it's for me, Ravinder? Great question. So that's the free lesson on the website. So if you just head to the website, and you'll see in the navigation bar at the top, there should be a button that says free lesson. Click on there, and it's the video that pops up. It takes about half an hour, so feel free to watch through that. We're also actually running a second taster lesson live with Nico on Tuesday next week. So we'll send an email out after this with a link if you want to sign up for that. So that'll be like another hour or so with Nico, building out a portfolio or like a personal website in HTML and CSS.
Yeah, so do join on Tuesday. I'll be there from 6 to 7. Another thing I wanted to mention around this is that there isn't anything else yet now. So we have that free lesson, but we will be working and we will be releasing later on a free sort of sample course. So you can actually do a bit more of like, watch some lectures and do some exercises in your own time as well for free. So that's pretty exciting, but not right now, because obviously we're teaching the first cohort in March, which also answers, how many people completed the course in the UK so far. And the answer is 0, because the first cohort is starting in March. But in Italy, we have over 1,000 students. And by the way, the percentage currently that we had on the website, there's like 98% of students that completed the course landed a job. So things are going super, super well.
Nice. We had a couple of people reach out directly to panelists on chat as well with some questions. How many teachers will I have in my next cohort? We answered that one. Will I get a certificate? We answered that one. Will I find a job in my city is a great question. So the work of the placement team is actually, the fact that we run a 6-month course is super helpful here, because what we can do is we can see the people who join at the start of the 6 months, we can see where they're based, and we can target companies specifically based on those locations. So if we know that we have 5 people in Glasgow, 3 people in Manchester, 2 people in Bristol, 10 people in London, we can reach out to companies and say, hey, listen, in 6 months' time, we're going to have some fantastic developers that have these really useful skills that you're looking for, graduating from our course. They're free to hire. Get in touch with us. Sign up to our hiring platform. So it's obviously, there's no guarantees with hiring, but it gives us a lot of space and time to build up a network of companies in your area.
Yeah. Just to add to that, like, you're also not stuck with whatever companies, we work with or not work with. You're super free to apply to any company of your choice. And since we'll give you the tools, to nail the technical interviews and to present yourself well and to polish your CV, chances are, you get to pick pretty much who you work for. And we're not going to be dictating who you work for. So it's totally up to you. And chances are high that you get the job you want.
Nice. Have a final one there from Ravinder. As I am a key worker, it'll be hard to be on only for the lesson. How do I review the lessons? So a couple of things to pick out here. For most people, you'll either be kind of job changing, so quit your job and start the course so that you can become a software developer, or you'll be furloughed or unemployed and looking for like a new skill to train up. Or there is an option potentially to kind of do evening and weekend work alongside the course. If you have a full-time job alongside the course, it's just going to be super difficult to be able to dedicate the time necessary to effectively learn and follow the lessons. And although it starts out quite easy, HTML and CSS is not too hard, by the time you're getting to kind of, React, TypeScript, Node, APIs, it's going to be, each day that you miss is going to be really hard to recuperate. So it's going to be really important that you are able to attend those lessons. Having said that, if you do miss 1 or 2 lessons here or there, we do record them. So there is always that fallback. But that is for 1 or 2 lessons that you miss here or there. It's not a substitute for, I can't attend the lessons, I'm going to watch them on the recording.
Yeah. So the purpose of the course is to change careers, especially like dev is super booming, pays really well. It's super enjoyable to work, but also to get into the career, it just takes a lot of effort, right? So it's not as compatible if you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
If you have a part-time job, maybe, But we still, you should attend the lectures, you should ask questions, you should apply yourself and practice a lot.
Yeah.
Because the whole purpose is in 6 months, you're going to be learning what you probably learn by yourself over like 3 years or so, right? Because we have, a very well structured curriculum. We help you down the right path, but it is intense. There's a lot to learn. Super rewarding, but you sort of get what you put into it in a way. So you do need to take those 6 months to work super hard, and then your career is made after that,
right? Nice. Cool. I think that takes us to the end of our questions. So all that's left to say really, sorry, Ravinder, thanks for your message as well there.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You can always, like circumstances might change later.
Yeah,
we're going to keep running. So if it's not for you today, you're not forced to choose right now. You can always decide later if you want to try it out later on.
So just a quick reminder then, cohort starts March the 17th. If you're interested in applying, head to the website, click apply now. And if you enroll before 22nd of Feb, we'll knock £500 off the price. So it's £6,000 total, as a little thank you for everyone who attended today. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us, hello@boolean.co.uk. We'll share these slides and a little thank you email afterwards. And yeah, just a big thanks again for everyone who made it and your great questions.
Just to give you a little bit of extra knowledge at the end, like the bootcamp that I used to work for charged £12,500 for a 3-month curriculum. This is 6 months for £6,000 if you're here today, so that's a super, super good offer. It's like twice the amount of learning for like half the price. So it's super, super good.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's very competitive indeed. So all that's left to say, yeah, big thank you everyone, and hope to see you soon at an interview.
Take care.
Bye everyone.
Bye.